What is an African philosophy or wise worldview that a child from a part of Africa, living in a part of Africa, should practice every day? Here's another favorite of mine. This one is called Harambe. Harambe, made popular by the people of Kenya in East Africa. And it simply means, let us all pull together. This concept emphasizes that teamwork makes the dream work. It promotes collaboration, inclusion, and cooperation. Every African child should practice Harambe. In this next episode of Mother Tales with Yaa Koko, children will discover how African communities have practiced Harambe for centuries. Hello! Welcome to the world of African ideas. Thank you for visiting me once again. I am Yaa Koko, and as you know, in the world of African ideas, we get to discover great people, great places, great objects, great foods, great animals in the ecosystem, but best of all, great ideas to come out of Africa or that are connected with Africa. I'm so thrilled to have you once again, and I have an amazing menu of tales for you today. As you know, whenever you visit me, I start with a game. So let's play a game this visit. Tell me an African object that starts with the letter K. Okay.
Kolanut ring.
Ini, kolanut ring. Are we not fishing here?
I'm thinking of like the cowrie something. Yeah.
Kolanut, I would put it as a food.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, she had her hand up first.
Calabash.
It doesn't start with a K, and we've talked about calabash on this session before. Yes. You guys you don't even have the answer. You're holding up your hands to start guessing. Yes, Jamiloju? What?
Kalama.
Kalama. Is that something that exists or you made it up? Let me help you out. I love how all of you are guessing. Okay, one more chance. I can't give you a hint. I just told you something that starts with K, that's an object made from Africa, original to Africa.
Something that is Calabar.
What were you saying? What's that?
It's not Ashanti. It's not Ashanti.
Close! You're almost on it. Yes. Kente! Give you a high five because you were close enough and you got it correct. You clued her in. Kente! Yes. Kente is a fabric renowned to come from Africa, specifically Ghana. Ghana. It is a type of fabric associated with the Ashanti people of Ghana. Now let me tell you the legendary history behind Kente. It is said in the legends that two friends went into the deep forest once, and there they saw a spider weaving a very complicated web. The spider was of course called Anansi. Anansi is the name of the folk-tale spider from Ghana, right?
A famous spider.
Exactly. Anansi, they saw the spider. Anansi was weaving a complicated web, and they studied the web. And when they went back to the village, they tried to replicate the patterns of the web that Anansi the spider was weaving. And that is how it is said that the first Kente fabric was woven. A fabric made up of a complicated web of patterns. It was made, it said, in black and white. But Kente over time has been produced in rich colors associated with Ghanaians. Vibrant red, green, and yellow colors and hues associated with Ghana. In the past, Kente was associated with royalty. It was reserved for people from the royal house. Kings and queens were the ones who wore Kente woven fabrics. But eventually, everyone started to aspire, and soon it became common across all Ghanaians. All Ghanaians were known and associated with the Kente fabric. Now, Kente has become so widespread and acclaimed that many Africans all over the continent celebrate important events with Kente fabrics. things like graduations. If you travel to foreign countries and foreign universities and see Africans graduating, you will see them draped in nice kente cloth, indicating that this is a huge important ceremony that they are celebrating. And this fabric comes from Ghana, West Africa. Yes, you have a question.
My question is that when those two men they came back to the village, did they use the exact kind of web that Anansi made, or they just made it from?
It can't be the exact kind of web, because the spider as an animal releases a certain fluid that turns into that web, that sticky thing. So it comes from the spider. The men cannot produce that same fluid or sticky thing, right? So they use the materials available to them and they weave with those materials. But it is a legend, mind you. It is a myth. It is a folk tale, okay? But usually within these folk tales are hidden truths about how our first ancestors gained inspiration to make some of the things that they make.
Thank you for playing my favorite African game with me. Now let's find the other items in the game. What is an African name that starts with the letter K? Kofi. Kofi is a strong, popular West African name connected to the rich traditions of the Akan people of Ghana, West Africa. It means a boy born on Friday. In Ghana, day names hold deep meaning and identity. The name suggests a creative, adventurous, and resourceful spirit. Kofi is usually given to male children. An example of a famous man who bore the name is Kofi Annan, the first Black African to be the Secretary General of the United Nations. People named Kofi are often seen as smart, adventurous, and good at solving problems, like a leader or someone who loves to travel and discover new things. If you enjoyed this, tell me in the comment one African name you love that also starts with the letter K.
Anyway, thank you for playing my game with me. Now let's move on to the next part of your visit.
A story.
Exactly, a story. Time to hear about another set of courageous children aided by a great courageous woman. This story comes from the great country of Malawi in Africa. Now, it is about a young girl who grew up to become the first female chief in the entire country of Malawi. Her name was Theresa Kachindamoto. Kachindamoto. That was her name. She was born in the southern part of the country of Malawi, in a great village in the southern part of Malawi. Her father was a chief, a very well-respected chief, and he had 12 children. Theresa was the last born, the last of his 12 children. He loved her very much. She was, it said, his favorite child. So Chief Kachindamoto made sure that his daughter went to school. Back in the day, many girls were denied an education, but he saw that this girl was so bright, so promising. He insisted that she goes to school. Every time her older siblings tried to bully her, her father stepped in and defended her. He always said to them, "Don't touch this girl. Do you know that she will be a chief one day?" Everybody laughed. It was unheard of. How can a girl become a chief? And then in this case, she was the last born of 12 children. When would it ever become her turn to be a chief? So it was laughable. But still, her father imbued in her a sense of self-worth and awareness. He reminded her of her great heritage. He told her every time that she was intelligent and she was responsible for others and that she would do great things in life. And with that affirmation, she grew up with a huge sense of responsibility. When she grew up, she did well in school and eventually she moved to the city where she got a job, a reputable job as a college secretary. She became the secretary of a theological school in the main city in Malawi. For many years, she served as the college secretary, serving in that administrative capacity, doing great major tasks that ensured that the school ran smoothly. And she was well loved and admired by her colleagues, her superiors, and all the students in the college. She had gained a great reputation. She eventually got married and had 5 children. But guess what? Along the way, many years before she had the 5 children, her father passed away and his title moved to her oldest brother. The firstborn male in the family became the next chief of their village. Their village was called Dedza in Malawi. Her older brother became chief. At some point, her older brother died. She was still in the city, but she was hearing reports from the village. And then the title moved to the next older brother, the next sibling, exactly. So he also became chief. And gradually, the title kept moving when some of the brothers were passing away. Soon, 4 brothers had become chief. When the 4th brother died, the villagers and the remaining members of the royal family had a meeting and a consultation. They decided they didn't want the title to go to the next male in the family. They looked amongst the royal family and they agreed. Teresa, who is in the city, has done very well for herself. She's celebrated. She's well respected as a professional in the city. She is well respected in the theological circles. We would like Theresa to come and become the chief of this village in Malawi. What? Everybody laughed. Are you crazy? It is laughable. How can a woman become a chief? But they looked at it and they said, she is worth any other man in this same village. She is wise. She is intelligent, she is responsible, she is respected, she is admired. Why should she not equally be a chief? And so they resolved amongst themselves that they would go to the city and invite Theresa to come and take over the royal stool and become the great chief of Desert Village in Malawi. When they arrived and told Theresa that they wanted her to become a chief, even she laughed. What? I'm the last born of the 12 children. I still have some older surviving siblings. How can you ask me to come? More so, I cannot live my life in the city. Even my husband will not follow me. What will we be doing in the city? To retire to become a chief? It's unheard of. And so she refused. For 4 years, the villagers and the royal family kept inviting her to come back and become a chief. Come back and become a chief. In the 4th year, her husband sat down with her and said, for them to keep this stool waiting for you for 4 years, they trust you. They believe in you. I will support you. I will move back with you to the village. And that was how Theresa accepted to return to the village to become a chief. In the history of Malawi, she became the first chief, female chief of the entire country of Malawi. When she arrived in the village, she said there was a crowd of people. It is reported that all the villagers came out to welcome her in celebration. It was evident that they all supported her being enthroned as the new chief of the village. She had the heart and loyalty of all the villagers. It was amazing to witness. But that was just the beginning of her journey. Now, in one of her early meetings with the villagers, Theresa noticed something. As she was talking and resolving the disputes and doing what chiefs do in villages, solving problems, giving counsel, addressing issues, different disputes were arriving. She noticed a little girl at the back holding a baby, and the baby was crying loudly, and the cry of the baby was disturbing the meeting. So she said to the young girl, a very young looking girl, around 11 or so, 13, take the baby to the mother. Take the baby away from here and give it to the mother. The girl said, I'm the mother. This is my baby. I know, shocking, right? Theresa looked at her once again. You are the mother of this baby? It was surprising. This was a child herself. How could she be the mother of another child? And then she started noticing all over the village, little girls, 11, 12, carrying babies on their backs. She suddenly realized these babies were not their siblings. These babies were their babies. These little girls were becoming mothers way too early when they ought to have been in school. She started investigating. What happens? What are the girls in this village doing? Where are they? Are they in school? And what she discovered was very shocking. In her village, right under her nose, girls were being married off as early as 9, 10, 11, and they were already producing babies when they should be in school. I know, very alarming, but it was rampant across the whole village. And so Theresa went to visit the parents of that little girl. What's the matter? Where is the husband? Who dares marry this little child? How can you marry her off? Oh, poverty. There's no money to feed them. So we married her off to somebody who will take care of them. Instantly, she terminated the marriage. This marriage cannot stand. A child cannot be married to a man. A child must be in school. These are the things you must do. Take over this little baby, she told the grandmother of the baby. That is the girl's mother. Watch this baby on behalf of this girl while she is in school. She should not be carrying a baby. She should be learning. And she began to go around the village, educating them. She formed a group of mothers and started sending them from house to house. Soon, she was terminating all these marriages of children. Marriages of children, girls, little girls themselves, married to old men. Theresa Kachindamoto began to terminate these marriages, educate these members of the village, and also teach them ways, improve their livelihoods. She began to introduce small businesses by which families could make money so that they would stop sending off their children and little girls to early marriages as a means of survival. And very soon, of course, she began to gain enemies, because some men who had already become accustomed to marrying these small girls saw it as a threat. They said it was their culture. Culture, she said, no, culture is not a dead thing. Culture is a living thing. Culture can be changed. Culture can be defined. Culture can be improved. If a way is harmful, you cannot continue to stick to it because of the name of culture. Rather, you must change it, improve your practices, adopt new ways that are more progressive, that protect everybody's interests, that bring about improvement and advancement for everybody. That is culture. Ways of life that ensure progress for everybody. And so she began to educate them. She sent a group of women. Soon the villagers gave the women a name, mad women, mad dogs. They started calling them mad dogs. Because when they came into these settings, these women violently defended these little girls. They would pull away these little girls from the homes of wicked. And some of these men that had married them, older men, were beating them, brutalizing them. They were not even taking care of the children that they were giving birth to. Of course, these girls themselves, they didn't know how to raise babies. So the babies that they were giving birth to were just wandering the streets. And soon, a whole village would have been filled with vagabonds. Children that were not trained, educated, well protected, given good health care, given good feeding, no nutrition. And it just causes another cycle of disaster for the village. And so Theresa put her foot down, and with her group of mothers, they created different levels, and these mothers would go in there and would continue to fight for the rights of these little girls. Soon, Theresa partnered with an NGO in the city, and the NGO pushed and developed a bill so that the members of the lawmakers, the members of parliament in the country of Malawi would pass a law saying that no girl should be married before the age of 18. Do you know that for the next few years that she was a chief, Theresa terminated 3,500 marriages. Yes, 3,500 little girls had been married off to old men. They were producing babies. These babies were just moving around aimlessly, no food to feed them, no education, no health care, and so they were just creating a new generation of children who would not be capable, competent to give value in their society. Theresa insisted that those girls be sent back to school. Partnering with that NGO in the city, they started to provide skills empowerment for some of the girls and some of their parents, so that they would have these skills as a means of supporting themselves and developing a means of what? Livelihood. Because if people cannot earn income, then they start resorting to selling children as a means of earning income, right? So these were some of the ways that they began to empower the mothers and fathers in the village, also sensitizing them to the ills of child marriages. As I said, Theresa terminated 3,500 marriages of little girls to older men. Today, those girls have become teachers, police women. They are working in the military. They are serving in different roles in society. They also work as NGO workers, social welfare workers. They are staff of ministries and departments and agencies of government in Malawi. All because one woman stood up and acted with courage to fight for the rights of girls who were victims of a wicked inhuman culture, inhuman practice under the label of what? Culture. It is wrong for us to deny any child the right to learn, the right to an education. And we must not begin to impose the duties of an adult on little girls. Little girls who have not developed emotionally, physically, intellectually enough to become mothers have no business carrying babies. They have a duty to mature and gain a sense of footing and standing in the world before they can even contemplate becoming wives or mothers themselves. So that is how the great Theresa Kachindamoto, the first female chief in the country of Malawi, fought for the rights of girls and terminated 3,500 child marriages, freeing those girls from oppressive systems, setting them on the path to an education, and making sure that Malawi now has men and women capable of giving back to their country and to their society. It is a great story of how one individual can bring about great transformation. Did you enjoy the story of Theresa Kachindamoto?
Yes.
Any questions? Okay, let me start with you.
This question is about the marriages of the little girls. So, if the old men married the little girls, why did they marry them if they were brutalizing them?
Because sometimes people are selfish, people are wicked, and if you don't have laws to protect people, especially children, people can exploit them and abuse them for their own selfish interests, right? So that is what we saw happening. People were taking advantage of the fact that girls were being brought up in poor homes, and so they were not acting responsibly, but they were taking advantage of them. Yes?
When the parents of those little girls saw that the men were not taking care of them, like even if they would expect that, the men would give them money or the men would at least take care of the little girls. But when the parents saw that the men were not taking care of them, that the men were not taking care of the children, why didn't they stop it?
That's why Theresa began to enlighten them. Sometimes people act from ignorance, poverty, and also they are trapped by ideas of culture. So when people act from limited knowledge and information, even though they are seeing that the results that they were hoping for are not what are playing out, they still don't act intelligently. They still don't act to protect children. So unfortunately, those parents, even though what they hoped for was not what they saw, they didn't act to protect their children. They acted like, well, it is what it is, and that's very sad, right? Parents should always act to protect and act in the interest of their children. You don't just say just because they are married off. Well, unfortunately, those parents will say she's no longer their property. In those settings, culture would view the girl married as the property of the husband. So the parents will say, I can't do anything about it. She's no longer my property. But a human being cannot be property. A human being is a human being, sacred and has dignity. We must never descend to a situation where we begin to view human beings as property. Because if you do so, you will exchange property. You will sell property, right? So that's what they did. They sold their children as though they were property, right? So that's the mindset that we must work against. We must change such mindsets, and we must never allow such mindsets to exist in any society where we exist in.
Next, what is an animal in Africa that starts with the letter K? Klipspringer. The klipspringer is a small antelope that lives among the rocky hills, mountains, and cliffs of eastern and southern Africa. Its name comes from an Afrikaans word meaning rock jumper, which is a perfect description of this amazing animal. Klipspringers are famous for their ability to leap from rock to rock with incredible balance and confidence. People sometimes call them the ballerinas of rocks because they move so gracefully across steep slopes and narrow ledges. They often live in rocky areas called kopjes, where they can easily escape danger by climbing to places that many predators cannot reach. One of the most remarkable things about the klipspringer is its feet. Unlike most animals, it walks on the very tips of its tiny hooves, almost as if it is standing on tiptoe. This special adaptation helps it grip rocky surfaces and make quick, precise jumps. Its springy hooves and amazing sense of balance make it one of Africa's most skillful mountain climbers. Did you know that a clip springer can balance on a rock no bigger than a dinner plate? If you enjoyed this, tell me in the comment a very unique animal in your part of Africa.
Thank you for listening to that story. We'll move on now to the next segment of your visit, a proverb. And this time around, Chimamanda, I will give you this proverb to read to us. Let's read the proverb from Togo. Sorry.
If a fish refuses to open its mouth, it doesn't get caught. Togo.
If a fish refuses to open its mouth, it doesn't get caught. Who can tell me what they think it means? I will only take one person. You read it, so let's have somebody else. Yes?
I think it means that if you're trying to get someone to like something or be interested in something, if they themselves, their opinion is different from yours and they don't like it, you can't force them to do it and they are reluctant, so they won't join you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's take one more.
Okay. So what I think is that when a person is trying a new thing, the person has to try it before they make their opinion. Like if the thing is bad or it's good. For example, if somebody is taking a new thing, they have to try it first to know if it is good or bad.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, let me just wrap it up here. So this proverb, remember, it says if a fish doesn't open its mouth, it doesn't get caught. So we're talking about a scenario where you are trapped, you are in a situation that you don't want, right? But how do you get there? You must be lured, you must be tempted, you must be enticed. So this proverb is saying that in order for you not to fall into traps, you have to resist temptation. For you to be trapped, for you to find yourself in a negative situation, it was because you did not resist temptation. As children, sometimes, maybe you see somebody holding something fancy and you're admiring it. It doesn't belong to you, but you like what they, and then they say, oh, follow me. Thank you. And say, I like this thing. I like this. They say, yeah, you like it. Follow me. And next thing you find yourself in a very unfortunate situation. What lured you there? You were enticed by the attractiveness of what that person was holding, right? And then you fell into a trap. Maybe that person, when they are out of their, when they are not being supervised, they are out of their teachers or their parents' eyes. Maybe they are thieves. Maybe they are all part of a gang of robbers, right? Or maybe they are taking drugs, as we are seeing now in many school settings. And you are admiring them. You see them every day. They are bringing this device, this gadget, and you are admiring it. And then you discover, you say, follow me, I'll show you where I'm getting it. And next thing, they take you to a place where they are doing cyber crime. Yahoo. Do you understand? So we have to be careful the things that, let's not be covetous. Don't be covetous. Don't just be content with what your parents give you. Be satisfied with what you have. Because it's only when you are doing what Yorubas call oju kokoro, right? That you go and enter into wahala. You go and fall into a trap. So don't open your mouth. If you don't open your mouth, you will not be. Thank you. The trap won't catch you. Okay? Thank you. That's another proverb. It comes from the people of Togo, and it's a great way to encourage children to be content with what they have, not to be covetous, not to be ensnared or, tempted by some of the things that our friends and our peers are bringing and using to do shakara for us in school.
Next, what is a place in Africa that starts with the letter K? Kilimanjaro. Kilimanjaro is the tallest mountain in Africa and the highest point on the continent. It is located in the country of Tanzania and is often called the roof of Africa because it rises high above the surrounding lands. One fascinating fact about Kilimanjaro is that it is actually a dormant volcano. This means it is a sleeping volcano that once contained hot, flowing lava deep inside, but has not erupted for a very long time. Kilimanjaro has 3 main volcanic peaks: Kibo, Mawenzi, and Shira. Kibo is the tallest peak and is home to Uhuru Peak, the highest point on the mountain. The word Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. For many generations, the Chaga people have lived on the mountain slopes, keeping the stories and legends of this magnificent mountain. Very surprising, the top of Kilimanjaro is often covered with bright white snow and ice, even though the mountain stands close to the hot equator. Did you know that if you start at the bottom of Mount Kilimanjaro, you could walk through climates that feel like a tropical forest, a grassland, a desert, and even the Arctic, all on the same mountain? If you enjoy this, tell me in the comment a mountain in a part of Africa that you have visited or that is located in your community.
Now we'll move on to the last part of this visit, where I share with you a role model. I have a very interesting role model to share with you today, to tell you about today. Her name is Dora Nkem Akunyili. Have you heard of Dora Akunyili before?
No, but I've heard of Dora the Explorer.
Dora the Explorer is a cartoon. This one is a one-time public servant and very celebrated public figure in Nigeria, Professor Dora Akunyili, of blessed memory. She passed on a few years ago. Professor Dora Akunyili was born in Makurdi, Benue State, Nigeria, but grew up in Anambra, right? She did very well in school, got many scholarships, and at some point she became appointed in the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, right, where she became a lecturer. Then she became a professor, and she was a professor of pharmacology. While she was growing up, her younger sister fell ill once, and they tried everything. They took her to the hospital, the doctors diagnosed, and they were giving her medication, but nothing worked. They discovered later that what they were giving her was fake drugs. They were buying fake drugs, and they did not know. The market was filled with what? Fake drugs. That was what inspired her. She started studying pharmacy and became a professor of pharmacology. And at some point, the president of Nigeria then appointed her to become the Director General of the National Food and Drugs Agency of Nigeria, NAFDAC. And that was when Professor Dora Akunyili began to wage a fierce war and campaign against the manufacturers and importers of fake and counterfeit drugs in Nigeria. At the time, over 70% of the drugs being sold in Nigeria were fake. Fake! Which means that even people that were going to the doctor and doing all the right things, the minute you were buying drugs, because you don't know, you will be taking the drugs and it's simply not working. People were dying of malaria, preventable deaths, illnesses that could be treated. People were dying from them. Why? Because some evil human beings were making fake drugs or bringing in fake drugs and selling to unsuspecting innocent consumers and members of the public. Professor Dora Akunyili decided that she would fight against them. During her appointment, she began to carry out raids. They began to secretly discover and investigate and find out some of those illegal production facilities where fake drugs were being manufactured. And she would raid them, confiscate, and burn down all their production, burn down all the drugs that they were making. And that was how Professor Akunyili began to destroy the activities and counter the activities of fake drugs importers and fake drug manufacturers in Nigeria. But they were angry, because do you know the amount of profit they were making from these fake drugs? Billions in naira. So they started sending her assassination threats. They started threatening to kill her members of her family, her spouse and her children. At some point, her husband told her, resign from this job. It is too dangerous. All our lives are at risk because of this job. The president had to call her husband to please support your wife. What she is doing is for the good of the public. What she is doing is saving this nation. And so he piped down and just determined that he would help her and keep praying. At one point, Professor Dora Akunyili was traveling from one state to another state, and assassins shot a bullet into her car. They waylaid her car and shot a bullet, but God delivered her. The bullet pierced through her gele. Narrowly missing her head. And she survived that yes, thank God, she survived that assassination attempt. By the time she was finishing her tenure, Professor Dora Akunyili had reduced the number of fake drugs circulating in Nigeria from that 70% that we're talking about to less than 16%. Less than 16% of drugs circulating in Nigeria were fake because of the courage, the integrity, the bravery, and the commitment and patriotism of Dora Nkem Akunyili. She is celebrated and forever regarded in Nigeria for her sacrifice and her contribution to the war against fake drugs in Nigeria. Eventually, she fell ill with cancer and she died. But before she died, she left a legacy that teaches every Nigerian that with courage, you can fight evildoers. With intelligence, you can have a smart strategy. And with faith in God, you can enjoy divine benevolence and grace to protect you from the wickedness of these individuals. It's a great story. We are sad that we lost her, but she has a permanent place, a permanent position in history, in the life and chapter of our great nation, Nigeria. Never forget her. Her name was Dora Nkem Akunyili, the former Director General of NAFDAC, the woman who fought and countered manufacturers and importers of fake and counterfeit drugs in Nigeria, saving millions of lives. Did you enjoy that story?
Yes.
Any questions? Yes, I thought.
When they were threatening her and saying that, oh, we'll kill your family, we'll kill this person, blah blah blah. Were they did they know where she lived?
Of course, criminals are always a step ahead. They will introduce surveillance, they will survey you, they will pay people around you to tell them your movement. That was why they were able to track her when she was on the road and attack her, because they knew she was traveling to a certain place.
But my own question is, okay, I'm not trying to support the criminals,
Yes.
but they knew where she lived. Did she have security?
Of course, she did.
Okay.
That is why when you're a public officer, in fact, in public office positions, especially sensitive positions like that, there are certain security details that are attached to you. Because if you do your work with integrity, you will step on many toes. So you have to have security details. The government has to protect you because what you're doing is very sensitive. So yes, the government provided her with security details, but God was the ultimate protector of her life because he delivered her from that assassination attempt, right? However, we have responsibilities to also take practical measures to protect ourselves. Be careful. Don't disclose your information about your movement just recklessly. Keep things very discreet, and some of these measures are also, necessary when we occupy public office and just generally even in our lives. Don't share information just indiscriminately with any persons, right? Because you don't know who wants to use that information. Sometimes some people, through their children, some of these unscrupulous individuals might be trying to get information through their children, maybe by monitoring their children's activities on social media. So in that kind of position, you have to be very circumspect. In other words, very discreet, right? And very modest and very hidden, exactly. That's all we can take now. I'll take one more from you, Jomiloju, and we'll call it a day for your visit. Yes?
Which year did she die?
She died in the year 2014.
What?
2014 was when Professor Dora Akunyili passed on.
And finally, what is a food or fruit found in Africa that starts with the letter K? Kola nut. The kola nut is the seed of a tropical tree that grows in the rainforests of West Africa. It is usually small, round, and cream, red or pink on the inside. When chewed, a kola nut tastes very bitter at first because it contains caffeine, a natural substance that can make people feel more alert and energetic. In many African cultures, especially among the Igbo and Yoruba people of Nigeria, the kola nut is much more than a seed. It is a symbol of friendship, respect, hospitality, and community. It is often presented to guests, shared during important meetings, and used in ceremonies such as weddings, naming ceremonies, coronations, and other special occasions. Among the Igbo people, there is a famous saying, "He who brings kola brings life." This saying reflects the belief that sharing kola nut is a way of welcoming people, strengthening relationships, and bringing blessings. Did you know that some kola nut trees can live for over 100 years? That means a single tree can provide kola nuts for several generations of families and communities. If you enjoyed this, tell me in the comment a fruit, snack, or meal native to your culture or tribe in Africa.
Thank you for visiting me. Thank you for being so engaging. I loved sharing today's stories with you. I'm so glad that you enjoyed the stories and you love the lessons. And I hope you will practice some of the values and emulate them that you've learned from our role models. Until the next visit, I am Yaa Koko and I hope you have a great time. Bye.
Thank you, Yaa Koko.